Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Tamara.
And today we're talking about something that Tamara researched.
So today we're talking about being whole and how important it is to find yourself before getting into a relationship.
Are we talking GPS, navigation of emotional stuff here?
Completely. So get out your Apple Maps, your Google Maps, and get ready to find yourself.
Is Apple Maps still a thing?
Yes, it's what you use on your iPhone.
No, you use TomTom.
No, it's not. It's Apple.
TomTom.
It's Apple Maps, I'm telling you.
It's TomTom. Go look at the thing. It says TomTom on it.
Maybe it's Apple Maps with...
Okay, this really doesn't matter. Alright, so we're talking about this whole concept of being whole. So I take it that this is... You know when somebody says to you, oh, I feel unhappy because I'm not in a relationship. I need somebody to complete me.
Yes.
I want... the only way I'm going to be happy is if I find my perfect someone.
Person. Yes. Yeah, so all of this... Well, everything you've just said falls into this really beautifully. Okay, so there's this thought that that some people have that when they're looking for someone, they're looking for someone to complete them. They're looking for their better half, their other half. They want someone that's their yin to their yang, right?
Right.
Okay, the truth is that another person shouldn't complete you. You should be a whole person, and that person should be a whole person, and together you should complement each other. You shouldn't be looking for someone to complete you.
So if you have emotional work to do, okay, it's not fair to expect somebody else to do that emotional work for you.
Exactly. So if you're someone who knows that you get anxious a lot or depressed or whatever it is, you need someone who is able to support you, but you don't look for someone that's going to carry all the weight in those areas in relationship. You should be working on those things and not getting over them, but like working to live with them better maybe.
Okay. And I can totally understand that. I am of the belief that a relationship is more of two people getting together and complementing each other. Is actually a beautiful way of looking at it.
Because just think about it this way. Like, if you are not able to be in a relationship with yourself, if you're not able to be in a good relationship with yourself specifically, how do you expect someone else to be in a relationship with you?
That's all grand and dandy, except for the fact that can anybody say that they're actually like a sorted out human being?
No, no one can say they're a sorted out human being. I mean, who has actually reached that level of enlightenment?
I think by the time you reach that level of enlightenment, you die, and that's life done. So, at sort of what point then, like, how do you know that you're ready for a relationship? Are we going to go into that?
Yeah, we're going to kind of go into it. I mean, okay. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule that, hey, if you're at 60%, get into a relationship. If you're at 30%, don't. Because who knows what that is. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules. But if you find that you're go from relationship to relationship to relationship and you just can't keep them for a period of time, or that there's always the same kind of stuff that ends your relationship, then there's probably some self-work that needs to be done.
I suppose a good, simple sort of litmus test, if you like, would be, can you be by yourself?
Exactly. If you can't be by yourself, then you're not ready to be with someone else, because someone else shouldn't be taking on that burden. People are not there to
solve your problems.
No, they're not your crutch. They're your support system. They're people too.
Right. And if you think about the impact of being in a relationship because you want to be whole or you want to be fixed or whatever it is, imagine how you both have that view.
Exactly.
How broken is that whole thing, just doomed to be from the beginning?
I was chatting to someone and they were saying that their cousin is always, she can't find someone to be in a relationship with. And outwardly, she should be in a relationship. She's beautiful, she's highly successful, she earns a lot of money, she's educated, yet she can't find a relationship. But the problem with her in specific is that she's got a whole list of unreasonable things that this person needs to meet to be in a relationship with her. Like, they must look a certain way, they must have a certain degree, they must, like, there's this whole list. And the thing is, if you need to have a list like that, then there's an issue there.
From what you're saying, it seems like the expectation on the partner to be some kind of superhero
exactly
is unreasonable.
It is. And in any way, whether it's simple things like looks or jobs, or if it's more complicated things like you want someone to be your support system without giving back.
What can you bring to the table?
Exactly. A relationship is a partnership.
Absolutely.
Whether you like it or not, that's what it is. It shouldn't be one directional. Leave that to the boys and their music.
So let's talk then just briefly about what a healthy relationship should look like from the two people's perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So you would want to be in a relationship so that you can forge through life together.
Yes.
As partners, as accomplices. You know what I mean?
Yes. So people who are in successful relationships, they know what they like for themselves, but they're also empathetic enough to know what the other likes. So you don't need to both like the exact same things. If one likes watching rugby on a Saturday, the other one doesn't have to like watching rugby.
But the one who doesn't like watching rugby must understand that the rugby watching person is going to watch rugby.
Yes, and that's something that's fulfilling for them and that fills their bucket. Right. And the other person can use their time to either be with that person because they know that they enjoy the company and be okay with that, or go do something that's fulfilling to them.
Okay.
And both people should be okay with that. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, you don't support me, you never watch rugby with me. So it's not really a compromise, but it's understanding that you both have things that you like. You're both humans with distinct personalities, and sometimes you will share those things, sometimes you won't, and sometimes you'll support each other even with things that you don't necessarily enjoy because you know it will make the other person happy.
But this also comes with being a whole human.
Yes.
So you come into a relationship and you like watching rugby. You don't expect the other person to follow you and always watch rugby, but it's nice when they do sometimes. But also, you don't drop the fact that you love watching rugby because the other person doesn't.
Exactly. Or it's not a thing of like, okay, so now for every Saturday for eternity, we're going to watch rugby. Or every time we do something, we're going to watch rugby and we're going to go, I don't know, camping and do cooking courses because this is what this one person likes and the other person never is able to explore their stuff.
Right, but if you both come in with being whole,
yes,
and I say that, you know, as whole as you can be,
yes,
right, as happy as you can be with yourself as an individual, you also come in knowing that you're going to have differences of opinions on certain things, but as long as you have a baseline that is similar enough, and I think ethics and general and values and general kind of outlook on life important things like how to raise children are really important things to have in common.
Yes, you need to have commonalities, and when you don't have commonalities, have enough EQ to be able to support the other person even if it's not something you share. So you get people who have different religious belief systems yet they're in relationships.
Right.
Because despite that they're able to like support that person in that belief system without having to be in it themselves. And they're not saying that that person's wrong, and they're not saying that they're wrong. We're both different people with different points of view, but that's okay.
So it's like you and I with lesfic.
Yes. A very fundamental belief system.
It is. I spend a lot of my time doing stuff revolving around lesbian fiction. And promoting it and all that sort of stuff, and you hardly read it.
Yes, and I support you in it, and
completely.
I will read some of it every now and then, but it's not my go-to when I'm looking for something to read. I don't need a lesbian element in a book to enjoy it.
But I really do.
And that's okay.
And so for me, it's a really important thing in my life, but you give me enough support that I feel like you understand me and you're willing to you know,
completely
listen to my discussions about it.
Yes, and like, you know, I supported you in helping you to
start the lesbian review.
It.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't like, you know, oh my God, lesbian fiction is like boring to me. Why do you even like it?
Yeah.
It was like, you enjoy it, let's find a way for you to enjoy it more.
But that's exactly it. And I know that you prefer certain types of mainstream reads, and so I absolutely support you in whatever you want to read there.
Yes. So,
and I'll discuss your books with you, and I'll even get mainstream audiobooks that you can listen to.
Exactly. So there's a little bit of a commonality there, but the way we enjoy it is different. Like we can still support each other in it.
But that's also part of being a whole person, because I'm not going to give up lesfic, and you're not going to give up, and you're not going to try to like just be a lesfic lover. It's just...
Yes. Okay, so we've been discussing the theory of what like being a whole person is, But how do you know whether you're a whole person or not?
Well, that's a good question.
What you need to remember is that it's okay to still be figuring yourself out. Whether you're 16 or 60, it's okay. There's no normal. There's no like, oh my God, if you haven't got your life figured out by the time you're 25, you should just like, I don't know, get a bunch of cats and live in a cave.
I think I've done more figuring out of myself in the last 4 years than I did in the first 32 years.
So it's like an ongoing process, and you'll probably find that as you age, you shift. And who you were at 20 is different to who you are at 32, to who you're going to be at 40. It's
Absolutely.
It's going to change, but the best you can do is try to figure out who you are in this moment.
Okay.
Or who you want to be. I mean, I think that's a very important thing to know as well, because if you're not happy with yourself right now and you can identify what it is, you know what you want to work towards.
And it could be something as simple as a career, an education, but it could be internal stuff, like you don't feel comfortable in your own skin.
Well, the thing is, it's okay to feel lost and it's okay to feel incomplete. And we need to get comfortable with those feelings, because getting comfortable with that is what allows you to move forward and to actually discover yourself. People who feel lost and incomplete and just rage against it.
Those are the people that are looking for somebody to fill that hole.
Yes. Think about being a teenager. Teenagers are a great example of this. You rage. You're just like, who am I? Where am I going? Why doesn't anyone understand me? That can be a person in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever.
It's true.
But instead of actually sitting down and trying to move forward and figure out who you actually are, and that the rest of the world isn't the issue, you're just not happy with you. It's the same cycle over and over again.
So it's almost like, to be a whole person, you need to be self-aware, not necessarily fixed.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because no one's going to be fixed ever, because
Absolutely.
we're humans, we're not robots. So how do you figure yourself out? What do you do to find yourself? Okay, so you can ask yourself a few questions. So what are your long-term and short-term goals?
Okay.
And this particularly becomes important, especially if you're in a relationship. If you're, by yourself, sure, but think about goals when you're with someone else. And if you're not aligned there, I mean, that's going to create a lot of conflict. So if you know what your short-term goals are and your long-term goals are before you get into a relationship, or you kind of understand vaguely what they are, it helps with being more stable in a relationship, because you can find someone who shares that. Okay, so for example, if my short-term goal was to travel the world, right, and your short-term goal was to climb the corporate ladder, those two are not something that works well together, because you're going to want to be focused, you want to save money, you want to be at work, as many hours a day, while I want to be flitting around.
This also could be something like starting a family.
Yes.
Whether that's long or short term, whatever it is.
Yes. So if you don't understand your life goals, whether it's for now or for the future, you're not going to be able to find a person that you're compatible with.
So, I mean, you can see that that's also self-awareness.
No, it is.
Absolutely.
All of this is about self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of time people fight about that internal thing. I mean, sometimes I think deep inside what you want. And especially people who are LGBT, feel that they know, but they fight against it. So
it's true. I spent a lot of time fighting against my sexual orientation.
So, I mean, if you're constantly fighting who you are, how can you ever be happy? Because there's always going to be some sense of self-loathing or something. Okay. Do you feel content with the most important areas in your life? So whatever's important to you, your health, your career, your friends, your family, are you happy with those things? So you ask yourself this question, because this is all about getting to know yourself.
Okay.
And you have to be honest. Okay. I am not happy with my family, for example, because they don't reach out to me. Look at the different areas in your life, and I mean, there can be other things to this. These are just some examples.
Once again, it's more about self-awareness than anything else. So you can be a whole person or a self-aware person, okay, but not have the best relationship.
Sure.
Not not be on track towards your life goals, not be whatever, but still be in a happy relationship, but because you are self-aware that this is where you want to go.
Yes. Again, no one's going to be perfect at everything in their life all the time. I mean, things shift and change. I mean, people live in chaos, basically.
Completely.
Once you reach equilibrium, something's going to happen. Like, that's just the way life is.
And you don't even have to reach equilibrium.
Yeah, it's true. But if you have a handle on what you want and what you need, which I think is important, you are more likely to have a general contentedness with yourself.
You can also be straight up front with your potential partner then.
Mm-hmm.
If a life goal of mine was moving to the coast, because we currently live inland, and we had just met, that's something that would affect you too.
Yes, and it's a big thing.
It is a big thing.
Or we've been in a relationship for 10 years, and all of a sudden you're like, actually, I want to go and live on the coast, I'm selling the house, and I'm just like, wait up, like, what's in the world?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is where good communication comes in. But
yes.
We'll discuss that, I'm sure, at some other point.
Okay, so and I think something to remember is that even if you know yourself and you're self-aware and you're basically a whole person, you can still feel unhappy sometimes. You're not going to...
Or often. But the difference, the trick from what I can tell from what you're saying is that you're not relying on somebody else to fix your problems.
Pretty much. Like, you're not going to be living a Disney life forever. You know, there is going to be ups and downs, but generally, there's happiness. Okay. Another thing you need to ask yourself is, do you feel confident in yourself and your abilities? Okay, so, and I think this is such a major one, especially for people who are not happy with themselves. Confidence and abilities are, I think, huge things. And especially if you're in a relationship and you feel like the other person is better at you in different things, it's going to be difficult. Or if you're lucky enough to be in a relationship with someone who's contemptuous, as we discussed in the previous episode, you won't have the self-confidence to be able to leave. Being confident is important, as well as knowing what your abilities are, and also being able to identify, okay, I suck at cooking, and I would love to be able to cook a 3-course meal. Okay, what are you doing about it? The last one that you need to ask yourself is, what makes you happy? Do you know? I know I've had points in my life where I don't know what makes me happy. Like, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. And then there's other times when I would be able to tell you. So, are you able to articulate what makes you happy?
All of this is really just about self-awareness.
Yes,
It's about understanding your needs. It's about understanding your emotional space. It's about understanding where you want to go with your life. And then from there, you can articulate it to your partner.
Yes.
You can
articulate it to yourself. Because, I mean, just imagine you're not happy and you can't, and you don't know why you're not happy, but now you're expecting someone else to make you happy.
But there's all these things that could be, and this other person's doing their own inner work.
And I think something important to address here is that if you're not content in your life, being in a relationship is not going to make it better. It's probably going to magnify the problem. And if you're already in a relationship, taking that relationship to a new level, whether it's moving in or getting married, is going to, again, magnify the problems more. It's not going to make it better. Bringing in children into a relationship is not going to make it better. All these things add complexity and they add their own problems. So if you're not happy and you don't feel happy with yourself in particular, don't look at external things to make you happy. You need to first be happy with yourself before other things can influence the way you feel.
So can we run just quickly through those questions again, just for people who've forgotten what they all are?
Okay, so the questions that you need to ask yourself is just 4. It's, what are your long-term and short-term goals?
Okay.
Do you feel content in the most important areas in your life? And this is going to change from person to person. So it can be things like health, career, networking, friends, so on. The next question is, do you feel confident in yourself and your abilities? Okay. And then what makes you happy?
Okay.
You know, those are a few things that are questions that can help you to learn more about yourself.
Just build that self-awareness that you need in order to have that healthy relationship. Okay, but what if I am a whole person and I have this self-awareness, but I'm in a relationship with someone who does not?
Okay. Well, I think then you have to try help that person to actualize, basically. You need to help them to find their happiness. And look, the thing is, they need to be aware that that's what something that they want to do. Because if they don't, if they're that raging teenager, they're never going to want to. As with anything in life, you have to have a want to be able to solve a problem. So if you're wanting to help someone, or if you want to help yourself, there are some key things that you can actually physically go do right now.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, so it's not just asking yourself questions. There are things you can actually go do.
All right, let's get to it.
All right. So the first thing is eating the right food.
Okay.
Okay. So this comes in with the health aspect of it, but it also comes in with body image and confidence.
Right.
If you're eating well, you're going to feel better. You're also going to look better.
You're going to have more energy.
Yes. Things like minerals will also affect hormone levels and that kind of a thing. So eat well to feel well. Drink tons of water. Forgo sugar, or at least reduce sugar. You don't have to be completely militant about your food, but make better choices. So even if it's small steps, instead of having bread for 3 meals a day, cut it down to 1 meal a day.
Try for the 5 a day, fruit and veg, all the good advice that we've been hearing since we were kids.
Okay, so the next one is exercise and stay active. So there's a few things to this. So again, it's the body image, but exercising actually helps release endorphins in your body. Okay?
Which helps with happiness.
The fitter you feel, the more you move, the better you feel. Also, if you're outside, you're going to be getting a lot more sunlight, which helps with a whole bunch of stuff. It makes you feel better physically, but it also changes cholesterol into vitamin D in your body. So again, you're a healthier person for it. If you're doing cardiovascular exercises, that's going to help with getting rid of cortisol in your body. So if you're feeling stressed, it will help with that. So exercise more.
Okay.
Another one is sleeping more. Okay, so a lot of people just don't get enough sleep. People are sometimes ashamed to have an early bedtime. Sometimes people are like, well, I'd much rather be watching a movie, playing video games, whatever it is, up until late at night, and they're not sleeping enough. So if you find that you're just unable to not be cranky, basically, try sleeping more.
Now, and there are supplements and things that you can take to help. There's apps, there's a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle particularly much with sleeping. Not because I don't want to sleep, I absolutely love sleeping, I just can't seem to stay asleep.
So practice good sleep hygiene. So there's like a lot of resources out there on this, but one thing is, don't have a television in your bedroom.
Or light sources, any of these like plugs that have little lights on them or whatever it is.
Don't play on your phone or a tablet, or if you do, use the night mode, which has got like the blue light instead of the yellow light or whatever it is.
Because it actually affects your brain.
Look at blackout curtains, because even tiny bits of light your body can read even if you can't see it.
So sleep masks?
Yes, a sleep mask is a good one. Use a white noise machine or a white noise app.
Yeah, we use one of those that's very effective.
Super effective, it's free, and it helps to bridge those gaps in your sleep cycle. When you're a little bit more servicey, it helps you just stay asleep.
Yep, so that neighborhood dog at 2 o'clock in the morning that always wakes you up will be drowned up by the consistent noise.
Yes.
And you can continue sleeping.
Yes. Okay, so then another thing is to actually be creative. So even if you feel like you're not a creative person, take time to engage in creative pursuits. Whether that's writing, singing, painting,
T-shirt
dancing,
printing.
Yes, Lego building, playing Dungeons and Dragons, whatever it is.
Anything that engages a non-work function, a non-TV function.
Yes, it helps to get rid of anger, frustration, sadness. It helps you to engage your brain in different ways than you used to generally. Another thing you can go do is to deal with your past trauma. And I'm talking trauma in terms of things that are really bad, or even things which are not too bad, but you need to actually deal with, because unless you deal with these things that have happened in your past, you're never going to be able to move on, or at least live with them in a way that's healthy. Find a therapist, a counselor, psychiatrist.
Absolutely. And your counselor, therapist, whatever it is, will also help you with other areas of your life where you're feeling stuck.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask yourself. Sometimes you don't know how to identify what your life goals are. Sometimes you don't know how to start, understanding what you actually want from the world.
Or why you can't. Like, sometimes they can just help unlock that part of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then something else you can do is learn to quiet your mind. So this is where meditation comes into it.
Yoga.
Yeah, yoga, stuff that helps you enter a flow state. So quieting your mind is not about being able to sit with no thoughts in your brain. And a lot of people struggle with that. So that is not what quieting your mind is about. That's not what meditation is about. It's about being able to enter a state where you're able to think thoughts, but you're able to also push them away and engage in concentrating on one certain thing. So you might decide that I'm going to meditate, and I want to meditate on feeling calm. So calmness is the thing that you're thinking about. Okay, so your brain's not empty, you're thinking about calmness. You can do it on any sort of thing. So it's not about having an empty brain, because that's impossible. You're going to have them in a monologue all the time, but it's learning to focus. It's learning to find a kind of stillness.
Why is that important?
It helps you to identify what you're feeling. It helps you focus on one thing.
Sometimes it provides clarity on issues that you're struggling with, because you kind of get rid of the noise.
Yes, it can lead to epiphanies. It can basically, like, if I can sit and think and be calm, and I can say a thought comes into my head, which is anxiety, I can decide, okay, I want to explore that anxiety. Okay. What is that anxiety about? What's creating it? What's it made up of? And I can think, okay, it's fear, it's sadness, and I can go, okay, what's causing that sadness? What's causing that fear? And I can go on this trail, and I can go follow the trail of that thought.
Okay.
Versus, I need to go pick up light bulbs and cheese, and the dog needs to be fed. You're directing your mind and letting it be quiet and focusing on something.
It's funny, often I'll solve a problem that I've been struggling with when I'm in the bath.
Yes,
because it's quieting my mind.
And some people enter the state when they're going on a run.
I've heard that.
Yes. So it's just you're getting to a point where you're able to laser focus your mind, but still in a flow state.
Okay.
All right. Something else that you can do when you have a negative emotion, take hold of it and control that negative emotion. Okay, so you're not going, Sally said my outfit looks crap today, or whatever it is, or she, gave me the side eye when she saw my skirt, and then, that goes on to, oh God, Sally's such a cow, and on and on and on and on. You're like, okay, Sally side-eyed me today. I know she's having issues with her mother who's ill. Maybe she was thinking about something else. Catching your negative thoughts and not letting them go into a spiral of negativity, because sometimes, something actually is negative, but a lot of the time it's mostly in our heads.
Interestingly enough, next episode I talk about emotional intelligence, and we go into quite a lot of depth of how to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling a little lost right now, don't stress. Just listen next time.
Mm-hmm. And another thing with negative emotions is that they cause a lot of stress.
Yes.
Okay. And that can actually physically impact your body. It causes the release of cortisol, which leads to things like belly fat. So, being able to actually manage your negative emotions is super important.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then another thing that you can do is have fun. When you're not feeling great and you're not feeling great about yourself, it's easy to wallow. It's easy to choose to just stay in a rut and go to work, go to sleep, have breakfast, go to work, and just that's your life.
Because you also feel like you don't necessarily have the energy to do the stuff that you need to do to break out of that. Like, have fun.
Yes. And, it doesn't have to be big things. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It can be saying yes to your colleagues at work asking you to go to a drink after work. It can be saying yes to going to a movie. It can be saying yes to going skydiving. Whatever it is, have fun.
You can switch off the TV and play a board game with your spouse.
Or if you're not in a relationship, it could be like when you were a kid, you loved doing crosswords. Go do a crossword.
Okay.
Second to last thing I want to talk about is appreciating what you have.
Okay.
So it's important to have gratitude for what you have, because it allows you to reflect on the positives in your life, and it helps to balance out the negative thoughts as well. So it can be, oh, I don't have a relationship or my relationship sucks. But if you look at all the good things, you'll probably find that they mostly outweigh the bad things. It can also be small things, especially when you're thinking about yourself as a person, like and trying to like yourself. It can be, I have really great hair, or my eyebrows are amazing. I'm really good at kicking a soccer ball. So whatever it is, look at the stuff that you do have and that you're good at and appreciate them. Not everyone has that. There are tons of people wishing they had what you have.
It's so funny because I was having a conversation with someone today who was going on about how they're not great at cooking. So I said, well, what I did is I learned, what's important to me to cook, like potatoes. I'm really good at cooking potatoes. I can make mashed potatoes to die for. I can make roast potatoes. I can make chips. I can make all sorts of potato dishes. I rock it. But I can't necessarily make other stuff.
Well, you make really good sandwiches.
Thank you. I do make good sandwiches.
And a good braai.
Oh, I am good at braai.
Yeah, so, there we go. A whole bunch of stuff that you're good at. So there's no point in being sad that you can't cook, because you can. There's just, you have specialities.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And then, then the last thing. This is if you're not in a relationship, particularly if you're single, is looking back at your relationships and assessing the damage.
What do you mean the damage?
So what happened in the relationship? Why did it end the way it did? And this isn't about negativity.
Okay.
It feels like it is, and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be an easy one, but it's one of these things which is a really good exercise of being able to identify patterns, basically. Especially if you're someone who's a serial relationship person, but they just never last, you'll be able to identify what's happening.
And the thing is, with all of this, nobody is judging you. You're the only person that needs to do this work.
Yes.
So be honest with yourself. It's the best thing you can do for yourself is to be honest with yourself.
Because the thing is, most of the time, like, you're resisting something within yourself,
100%.
And there's something that you don't like, something that you don't want to be true, and often that thing is what's preventing you from moving forward. So if you can identify what that is, I think it's helpful towards being able to liking yourself and to being able to be with another person. And that's the thing. What you need to remember, a relationship is made of more than one person. Sometimes there's struggle, sometimes there's more than that. I mean,
it's true.
That's okay. But you're never going to be in a relationship with any other amounts of people if you can't be in a relationship with yourself.
So, in some ways, like, this indicates why slightly older people, when they get together slightly older, have better, more solid relationships, because you're still figuring out who you are in your 20s.
Yeah, and I think it's also why so many relationships don't work out. It's a sad side effect, but there's this thought not a thought, but there's this thing in society where people think, okay, I need to get married by the time I'm 26.
Yeah.
I need to have kids by the time I'm whatever, and like, you can have kids well into your 40s nowadays.
It's true.
If that's a life goal of yours, you can start a relationship at any age. There's no time limit.
Being self-aware is the key to life.
It is.
So this is where the whole thing of being whole comes from. It's not about being perfect. It's about just being self-aware.
Probably the word whole is not a great word because it makes you feel like you have to be perfect and you're this better than other people person. That's not it. It's just knowing yourself. Nosce te ipsum, know thyself. It was my school motto.
I think that's all for this week.
Yes, so thanks for joining us at Let's Talk About It.
If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to rate us, especially on Apple Podcasts, because the more ratings we have, the more fabulous reviews we have, especially 5-star ones, means that Apple Podcasts will start recommending us to other people.
Yes, and we want more people to have better relationships, right?
Absolutely.
So help us grow by doing that, and you can also come chat to us on the Lesbian Talk Show discussion chat group on Facebook.
The Lesbian Talk Show chat group on Facebook.
On Facebook. It's a long name.
If you really love what the Lesbian Talk Show does, consider becoming a patron.
One of the perks of being a patron is that you get a series of Patreon-only podcasts, so you get to hear content that no one else gets to hear.
we're going to do a special episode of Let's Talk About It, where we talk through some of the comments that listeners have been sending us. We're getting some really interesting ones.
Mm-hmm. And we'd love to add yours to that. So please go over to our Patreon. It's in the show notes.
Yeah. So it's patreon.com/The Lesbian Talk Show. It's that simple. The link will be in the show notes.
Yes. So thanks for listening.
Go have a happy relationship.
And be happy with yourself.
Well, go have a happy relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Self-love. And not like that.
Well, you know.
Maybe
I was
like
totally going to go there. Bye.
Bye. No one's going to be fixed ever because
Absolutely.
We're humans, we're not robots. Right?
Well, I am, but I can't speak for you. I've been watching a lot of Westworld.
Hey Siri, who am I? A whole bunch of phones just went off.